And joining us now with more on the security situation following the latest terrorist attack is former head of the military's Prosecution Office for Judea and Samaria, Lieutenant Colonel in the Reserves and attorney, Maurice Hirsch. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So another horrific terrorist attack, this time 2 children murdered. And, despite promises, Israelis still feel they are lacking a sense of personal security. The Security Cabinet is meeting today. What is its response?
That's right. Unfortunately, what we're still seeing is really the carryover of the policies of the Palestinian Authority to incentivize and reward and promote terror. This is something that we've been seeing for a very long time now. It's something that the Israeli governments and different governments haven't really managed to get a grip on. It's something that we would suggest that, having done the same thing over and over again, it's possibly time to make a change, do things differently. As the head of the prosecution in 2015, I initiated the prosecution of Palestinians for posts on social media and incitement on social media, glorification of terrorists. Unfortunately, what Israel's government has done, and really but governments from the left and the right so far, has been to ignore the massive incitement from the side of the heads of the Palestinian Authority. They have enjoyed impunity for many, many years, even though they have directly and explicitly promoted, incited, and even demanded the murder of Israelis, and thereafter then rewarded them. This is something, a policy that has to change from one side of the pendulum to the other.
Mm-hmm. Now, National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir calling for a Defensive Shield 2 operation in East Jerusalem. Maybe this is what's needed? Is this the right move in your opinion?
So I think that the war on terrorism really has to include many different ingredients. One of it being making sure that the areas from which terrorists come out understand that there is a price to pay. In Essaouira, for example, where the last terrorist came out from Friday's terrorist came out from, there are dozens and dozens and dozens, aside from the house of the terrorist, dozens of illegally built houses. I think it's time that really the government adopted a policy of an integrated form of fighting terrorism. It means that they send in really the tax inspectors from one side to make sure that any tax that's being avoided there's a price to pay. Houses that are being built illegally are destroyed possibly in a fast lane measure, and really adopt that whole comprehensive approach to anywhere that terrorism comes from. This area will see an idea of upgraded, of improved, just law enforcement. We're not inventing something new. Israel doesn't need to pass a new law. All of these laws already exist. They just need to make a decision to implement those laws to the full force of the law against areas from which terrorists came out.
But yet, we are seeing Operation Breaking the Way, for example, which has been ongoing for many months. There we're seeing near nightly raids, law enforcement going into areas of hotbeds of terrorism, arresting terror suspects, and yet we still see this continuing terrorist attacks. So what exactly needs to be done to restore maybe deterrence?
Well, so I think that what we're seeing really on the ongoing level of terrorism is really the deterioration of the Palestinian Authority. It's been going on for 15 years, 16 years. It's really getting to its height at the moment, or its low at the moment, however you see it. The Palestinian Authority is losing control. It lost control of Gaza already in 2006, 2007, and it's now losing control of what's going on in Judea and Samaria, apart from their efforts to constantly promote terrorism, which is something which they still have a stronghold on. And again, those efforts that we're seeing of Israeli soldiers, of IDF soldiers going into the hotbeds to arrest terrorists is something which has to be done as well, but only when it's part of a wider strategy, understanding that terror is being funded all the time. Just last year, for example, as the Minister of Defense stipulated and as the Security Cabinet approved, the Palestinian Authority paid over 600 million shekel worth of rewards to terrorists. That is money, 600 million shekels worth of funding that goes directly into that cycle of violence. And it's money that Israel provides to the Palestinian Authority on a monthly basis. Without that money, the Palestinian Authority cannot function and cannot fund terrorism.
Let's hope that the Israeli government adopts these widespread moves against terrorism. Lieutenant Colonel in the Reserves, Maurice Hirsch, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you for having me.